Hello, everyone. Welcome to our podcast of the Athletic School. Today, our guest speaker is Julianne Sitch. She is a former professional soccer player, playing many teams in the U.S. She's the Chicago Red Stars. She played also in Australia, where she was the MVP. Nowadays, she's the head coach. Last year, she made history, becoming the first female to win the NCAA National Championship with a men's team. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, I love the background. So to begin with, I wanted to ask you about your playing time when you were a player. What are some of the lessons that you learned that you try to pass along to your players nowadays?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I would say that maybe it sometimes throughout my career wasn't happy with the lessons I was learning at that time, but you go through them and you kind of see that they're really good lessons and valuable lessons that you can carry through with your life. And maybe some of those, having to deal with an injury and just seeing, how to overcome setbacks and how to persevere in a different way and how you learn about yourself and grow and develop through the injuries you might have. I think one of the most important parts of, as a player and kind of learning of what sports in general taught me was just the grit and resiliency and determination, like how to set goals, how to go after them, how to work towards those goals, how to have a positive attitude, a really good positive work ethic. And I think the most important one is working with others and how to be a good teammate. I think that's something that carries you, in life, in whatever job you go and pursue, but also I think just in general, I think of being a good teammate and stuff is also how to be a good friend, and so I think just sports in general has taught me a lot of, things like that I can carry through in my life, and that things that I want to instill in my players, how to be on time management. That's a big one for being a student athlete, right? Like how to manage your time and and put all that time and energy into school, but then also into, your sport and stuff as well. So those are just a few, that I think have, become important and a value of, myself as a coach.
Yeah, time management is definitely one that I need to work on because yeah, it's not even the student athlete thing. Is I think it's just in general. But so what would you say that you were an that you had talent, or all the things that you achieved came from hard work and a little bit of talent? Do you feel like you had some luck on the way? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think I'm a big combination of both. I wasn't the most talented player, on a lot of my teams, but I think what did set me apart was my work ethic and my attitude to go after things. I put in a lot of time and work off the field, in all the sports I played. I played every sport until high school was when I really focused just on soccer. And I would say in all of my sports, I was in the backyard playing, I was dribbling a basketball, shooting hoops in my front. My dad would take me and we go hit softball. So it was like every sport that I was playing, I did a lot of the extra work off of practice times and designated a lot of that time to, getting better and being more technical in my sport. So with soccer, I really spent a lot of time off the field trying to be better technically. I would run a lot of fitness at the time. We had tons of fitness tests, so just trying to improve my fitness and strength in that. And I would also say I did have, some talent, I think, as well as an athlete and being that. But I really do think where I really set myself apart was with my work ethic and determination to want to go after and pursue things. And the luck thing, sometimes I feel like I maybe got lucky, but I also think too, sometimes I was in the right place and right coaches saw me for a certain spot, or, sometimes I missed out on teams and had to go back, the following year. So I definitely would say that work ethic for sure. And then, the talent and of course the luck comes in at some point.
Right. So you mentioned that you played other sports into high school. So as I mentioned before, I'm from Brazil, and you just went to Brazil with your soccer team. Uh, and you play against players that they play soccer for their entire life. That's the only sport that they play. And which is basically what happens in other countries as well, besides the US, since you guys have so many sports. What are your thoughts on that? Because we always think like, well, maybe if they play one sport, they can get better only at that, and they'll be an excellent player. But at the same time, here in the US, everyone plays other sports, and sometimes that helps them getting better at the sport that they want, and it helps, as well, just kind of forming them as members of our society. But when it comes to athletics, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think is a good thing to play all sports as possible until you decide which one you want, or would you say that if they could focus on only one would be the best?
Yeah, that's a great question, because I feel like that's a hot topic with the youth these days, where they're making them choose one sport at the age of 12.
Yeah.
I loved playing every sport. I thought it was really great, and I do think it develops athletes in such a different way. You're not overusing the same muscle groups. I think how you play basketball helps how you play soccer. I think how you play soccer helps how you play basketball. I think that there's a lot of different sports that are really beneficial. And not only that, but like, you're exposing yourself to different coaching style, different tactics, different awareness. And I think that just in general elevates and makes athletes better. I think the most important part of all of that is what does the athlete want to do? I think it's sad when kids really love all their sports, but then they're being told that they can only choose one of those at such a young age. And I think we should listen to the athletes a little bit too, of what do they want, right? Like, it's about them and about them having fun. And I believe if they're having fun, they're going to continue to grow and develop at a rate much faster than a kid that's not enjoying themselves. So I would think that we would need to listen to the athlete as well. And if they want to play multiple sports and up until high school, or when they get in high school, let them, and I think too, the athlete will let you know, like, hey, no, I want to focus on just basketball or soccer. This is my sport. This is where I want to go with it. So I think there's a lot of value in that. I also understand as a coach that you want your athletes to be playing that one sport and getting better and going. So I can see both sides of it. And I'm probably, I just believe too that being a multi-sport athlete is really healthy and, grows a lot and teaches the athletes a lot of different things that they can carry into any of the sports that they play.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Yeah, I like that answer, because I always, as you mentioned, it's a hot topic, and I coach U11 boys, and when they tell me that they have basketball practice, and I'm like, oh man, just come to soccer, But at the same time, like you mentioned, and I think that's true, like there are some things at basketball that will help you at soccer and vice versa. Yeah, that's good. Moving forward, I want to talk about the national championship that you guys won. I mean, you made history, but for me, I'm interested in knowing like how that happened. I'm sure there wasn't luck. There was a lot of work behind. How was that path to get there? Was it your first year as a head coach? Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes. So, I mean, how can you get there your first year as a head coach and take the team to not only to the national tournament, but also to win? Is a team culture? Is a different type of training? What did you guys do?
Yeah. The program had been in a very good, positive space before I had taken over. I was on the women's side for 4 years and had worked alongside the previous head coach that was there, knew of the assistant coach, my now assistant, and they had done a phenomenal job. The previous coaches have built a great team athletically, soccer wise, culturally, and so they were in a good space. They've been to the Final Four, the past couple years. And so when I was taking over, I wasn't looking to come in and take apart everything and create something, right? They've been very successful. I really liked the culture and stuff that they were looking to build on. And so I think from there, they were in a very good spot. They were hungry. They lost, in the Final Four last year. They wanted to get back there. They wanted to make it to the final and win. And so, that had some motivation from the players that have had a taste of that. They want to be back there. And so the team was extremely bought in. They worked hard from day one when, I joined them in the spring. It was all about how we were going to move forward. I don't say that we put a lot of pressure on winning a national championship. We put those standards in place of what we were going to do every single day to help us lead to get to that spot. We didn't go from here to here. We thought about all the steps into that. We talked about spring season, then we talked about preseason, then we talked about, our non-conference games, then we broke it down to our conference games, then we broke it down to, the postseason. So we really took everything step by step and got after those goals and standards and expectations that we laid out. And we listened to the team. What do you guys want? How are we going to do this? And giving a lot of ownership and stuff to them as well. Cause like I said, they've been there, they've been successful. The previous staff has done a good job. So it was just about how we could foster that and continue to create an environment where they felt like they were getting better every day and they were pushing each other and they were being competitive. So it was really about continuing to create that environment so that they could be at their best and also enjoy themselves. Because like I said, if you're having fun, you're playing at your best, and you're bringing all these different elements and level to the game. So I think that was really the biggest thing. And for myself, just wanted to create a culture and a environment where players felt like they could come and be themselves and bring the talents and stuff that they have. Everyone has something to offer. Everyone played a huge role in us going there. It wasn't just our one player or starting 11. I mean, every single player at some moment in the season, everyone brought something different. Everyone brought something unique. And every single day we kept talking about, it took all of us to get to that spot. And, the team, and they really bought into that. They wanted that. And, it's a huge credit to them, huge credit to them. But culture, I think culture is a huge one. I mean, if you don't like each other, you don't want to go out there and battle for each other and, wear your heart on your sleeve for each other, and I think that's also one of the greatest things that we had is this brotherhood that they talk about. They were willing to do anything and everything for each other. And we talked a lot about too, one of our captains brought it up multiple times about, the alumni that paved the way before us, right? If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't be here. So, taking that gratitude too, as well as like how we got here and how we got to this spot and how we're going to move forward with it.
So you mentioned that the players bought the idea, right? And it almost like kind of came from them as well, and you were just there to kind of like drive them to the, to the path of success. And in a lot of teams, I see that sometimes there's not much that the coach can do if the players don't want to do it, right? Everyone wants to win a national championship, but not a lot of people are willing to put the work in. Do you think you can help someone that doesn't want to be helped? Because I feel like in many cases, everyone wants to win, but as I said, not everyone wants to put the work there. And as the coach, you're there to kind of, let's say, win. Let's call it a win, but then the players are not really, they didn't really buy the idea. Do you think you can do a lot about that? Can you change that, or it doesn't need to come from the players?
I think it comes from both. I think it definitely comes from both. And, I think as a coach too, when you're bought in and you're working hard and you're doing these things, like your players see that too, right? And they want to be a part of that. And, that was something that my staff and I, like we talked about, we did have an idea of what our culture was going to be and how it was going to be and what we were going to be working with and towards, and we had that vision, and then we helped foster that, and, the guys having ownership and stuff in that as well. So I do think that it's twofold, right? Like coaches have to have that, and the players. Well, there's also that saying too, where it's like, you can't lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink, some could be some of that as well, right? Where the kid just doesn't want it. Even if you provide all these things for them, they also have to want it inside to want to go after it and have it as well.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think you mentioned something that was really good, that I mean, the players see the coach doing the work, and it's almost like the sense of skin the game. The coach is right there with you, and then I mean, the coach is doing it, so I have no reason to not be doing the same, right? So I think that's a big thing. So you have been coaching for a while now, and you play. So you are in soccer and sports for so long. What are some of the differences that you see from players that when you were playing and players that right now you're coaching them? Is there good differences? Is there bad differences? Because I feel like people say how players nowadays, athletes and whatever, our younger generations kind of soft nowadays. Do you believe that, or what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I think just some of the biggest differences are just the opportunities that's available. I think that's one of the biggest ones. gosh, I didn't have a personal trainer available to me to do extra work outside of soccer until I was almost going into college. I was almost 18, years old. Like those resources to work on your game and to better your game were not available, for myself growing up. And so I think that's one of the biggest differences for the athletes today versus back then, is just the opportunities that are available for them to continue to grow their game, to continue to get better. I'm talking not even just athletically. I'm talking they could have a life coach, they could have a nutritionist, they can have a hitting coach or whatever it is, and be specific in that way. So I think the opportunities to continue to develop their game are definitely a huge positive. And in terms of like a softer athlete or harder athlete, I think a lot of people can say all those different things and stuff, but like I still come across like really hard athletes that want it and want to win and want to be successful and want to push themselves and want to have these goals. And I think too, like, again, not making them pick a sport at such a young age and allowing them to foster and be a little bit more of who they are and find their path differently. I think that is different. Like I said, we're making kids at such a young age have to choose. And, I wish we could let them foster and grow and develop. I didn't know what I wanted to do when I was 12 years old. Well, I wanted to be a professional soccer player. I talked about myself a lot with that, but like, I didn't know what college I wanted to go to when I was 12 years old. And, so I think just allowing the kids to be kids, play, and continue to foster and develop and, lead the charge of some of that stuff.
Mhm. Awesome. Going a little bit off of that, so when it comes to college and athletes, and I know you guys are Division 3, is that correct?
Mhm.
So you are not really allowed to give athletic scholarships, which I believe it makes your job a little harder. So I wanted to ask you about the recruiting process, not only in terms of getting the good players, talent players to your team, but also, is there anything that like when you sit down with a player, what kind of questions do you ask them? How do you figure out that that's a good player for your team? How do you figure out if he's a team player? Or how do you figure out if that's who you're looking for?
Mhm. Well, that is true. We cannot give out athletic scholarship. I've never really worked at D1. We're giving out scholarships, but I do not think it makes our job harder. I think it's actually pretty awesome because you're getting a kid that really wants to come to your school and you can't offer them any money, right? So you're getting a kid that really wants to go to University of Chicago. And, with University of Chicago being a very high academic school, that is one way of how we recruit. Right. We are trying to do our best to find student athletes that are going to be very successful in the classroom, as well as be very successful on the field and stuff for us. So, we get a lot of kids that want to be a part of a very top program soccer wise and really want to push themselves, in the classroom. So that's one of the biggest things for us recruiting, is we have to make sure that the student athlete aligns with the academic standards that Chicago holds. And we have to make sure that they're going to come in and be successful in the classroom. So that's one. Two, we do ask a lot of questions about what are they looking to study. One, do we offer those majors? And then two, we ask, what are they looking for in a program, right? Like, what are they looking for? Because it is a very rigorous course load at Chicago. And I think the kids that are interested in us know that they want that type of academics, and then they want that type of soccer as well. So what are they looking for in the soccer side? We start to learn about them. Are they going to fit our culture? Are they going to, help be a part of our culture? And that is one of our biggest things. We talk to club coaches, we talk to their high school coaches. We've even talking to high school counselors, right? We want to make sure that we get the right student that's going to fit in with our culture and continue to elevate us, on and off the field, and then also in the classroom. So those are just some of the biggest things for us. And then like recruiting wise, obviously going out to tournaments, we host ID camps, getting the kids on campus, have them meet some of our players for lunch and talk, we get the feedback from our players, making sure, hey, we feel good about this, he's one of our top players for 2024, whatever it might be, and making sure again that he fits within that culture and where the vision of the program that that we have, where we want it to go.
Mhm. Awesome. Sounds good. My two last questions for you. First one, how would you define winning? What does winning means to you?
Winning means to me, I think, one, creating an environment where athletes feel like they're developing and getting better. providing a place that's not based on fear, non-fear based environment, allowing the athletes to feel like they can come be themselves, showcase what they have. I think that's one of the most unique, great things about soccer is, yes, you have your set pieces and you have your set plays in some aspects of the game, but really you're playing off of instinct a lot, right? What does the games give you, bringing your strengths to it? So not limiting players to being who they are. So I really want to be able to create that environment and have an environment where they're having fun. That's big success for me, right? Like, are the players coming? Are they learning? Are they growing? Are they developing as people both on and off the field? Are they having fun? Are they loving where they're at? I think that's a big success, right? I think also creating that culture where, your players feel like they're in a good spot. They want to be a part of it. I think then you're doing something great, right? If players are staying and they want to play and they want to continue to be there, like you're doing something right and you're creating that. That to me is a big success. And then obviously being a competitor, I would say winning, but I think the other piece to that, is really important as well.
Mm-hmm. When you were playing, did you ever play under pressure and a certain type of fear? The coaches put that pressure on you?
Yeah, I've been in some of those environments before, for sure.
Yeah.
Comes with the stakes of, playing at times too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that you mentioned that you kind of doing the opposite with your players, because I feel like so many nowadays I see coaches, they have the mindset, but then players still think that they should pressure their teammates in order to get the best out of them. And I mean, I don't see that working, and people are still trying to do that. So, but yeah. My last question for you, what's your definition of success?
Well, I think I kind of just nailed that. And the last thing, that's, I think, definitely part of big success. I think that's tied into like the winning, like, I think success, your kids want to come back, they're enjoying themselves, they're having fun, and they feel like they're in a good place where they can come and be themselves and, that they add value or feel valued, especially too in the environment. I want them to feel valued and, they have something to offer us and we have something to offer them. So that's definitely a big part of, success. And I think, when you make your goals and stuff throughout a season, heaven forbid, there's some of them that you just might not make, right? Unfortunately, right? We all probably put down that we want to win conference, and sometimes that just doesn't work, so what is that success along the way? And I think, again, that is the development of the program. Are you moving forward? Are you moving in the right direction? Are you happy with your culture? Are you happy with like the standards and expectations and how things are continuing to grow and move forward? I think that is success.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Would you have any books, podcasts that would you like to recommend to people listening to us?
Yeah, I'm a big Brené Brown fan. Dare to Lead is a really good one. I like that one a lot. So I've read that one a couple times, and Culture Code has been a good one. I enjoyed reading that one. I feel like I need to make a list because every time someone asks me this, I'm always like searching for all my favorite books that I read.
Yeah.
Legacy, I really like. That's like not so much of a coaching, but it's about the like New Zealand All Blacks or whatever. But I just think that one is like really cool about like the culture and stuff that they have. So I think Legacy is a pretty good one, unique one that I recommend for athletes that potentially we've probably all gone through like a slump where we're feeling a little like, oh, I'm not playing at my game, or you kind of get in that slump and then you just feel like you keep digging yourself down. But like Mind Gym is one of my favorite ones. Just really great little small stories from a lot of different athletes that have gone through different challenges or adversity and how they kind of mentally work their way out of that. So I think Mind Gym is like a really good one for athletes, but I also think for coaches too, kind of reading that and seeing that. So when you do have an athlete that's potentially struggling, you can be like, hey, here you go, read this book or read these chapters and stuff. It's just a helpful little tool for them as well.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. Julianne, thanks so much for being part of my podcast. It was a pleasure talking to you. I'm really glad that we found a time. It was really great to see you win the national championship. I think we need way more females in the men's side of sports because you guys have a lot to teach us. So well, thanks so much.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Have a good day.
Thank you.